Maybe a short brunette with really pretty eyes I could live with. And guess what? You're going to be happy again. Accept the dog you've got. My aunt said something to me years ago. Oh, you got that one. Good, congratulations. My aunt said something to me many years ago when I first met my wife and we announced our marriage. She said, you know, you may think you love her now, but wait, because over the years, things can get a lot better. And I've been privileged to have that experience. But part of it is there are certain parts of my wife that I just have to accept. She's never going to be over 5'2", not ever, okay? But I can accept those things. Got the idea? So the options are this. Acceptance is a choice. You can either change your situation or change your image of the situation. And either way, you've got some control then. It's your choice. It's not the situation's problem. I hear people talk about work issues. Look, some things you can change, some things you can't. But if you can't change them, understand it for what it's worth. Change your image of what you have, accept something different, and if you do, there'll be peace. If you don't, you'll be in turmoil. So, do you have any dogs you don't want? Again, you do not have to share that in this group. Do you have any images or realities you need to change? It is a process, folks. It is a process we can all be a part of, and maybe we can help each other through sometimes. By the way, if you're feeling sorry for yourself, we were talking about this earlier, I shared that I teach online. I have an opportunity online to get to know my students really well because all they do is journal with me and have discussion. If you just listen to some of their stories, you begin to get a sense that a lot of us have very charmed lives comparatively. And if you're ever really feeling bad for yourself, just go out to the interfaith shelter and talk with people, or really come up upon some of the people. We really don't understand what we have. So, clear on that one? So it's a process. It's not complacency, okay? And it's related to, now there's some related actions you can take. If any of you have ever lived with an alcoholic, you're saying, well, you know what? I can't accept their behavior, but I can't change it either. But you don't have to enable. Enabling means you're promoting a behavior you don't like. And so that's one thing. And then we know that denial doesn't work. So when you're looking at choices and in terms of actions, these are 2 more choices, 2 more actions you can take. Not enabling is a really big thing. And sometimes we need support for that. And there are, if you just get on, I'm sure most of you don't go cruising the web looking for support groups. But if you do get online and look at support issues, you will see that there are literally hundreds of different kinds of support groups. So when you're in a situation where there doesn't seem like there's any good solution, you may need someone to talk to who has either been there or it's been in a like situation. Get online. You live with a parent who's got Alzheimer's. You have a chronic illness. All of these things are places where you can get more support. Or if you're fortunate enough to have someone that you live with or that is a minister to a church you belong, don't be afraid to seek help. Okay? None of you do this, I'm sure. Oh, excuse me, that's it right there. None of you hold on to the tail of a tiger, do you? Any of you done that lately? And no one will admit to that one either. The reality is I'll bet you most of you have done this, and it's a little different way. Holding on behaviors promote a couple of things. And what I'm talking about is holding on to old issues in your life. Someone said something to you and you've been mad at them for 10 years. Okay? Or you were treated poorly. Or you did something to someone else. And you hold on to that feeling. And when you think about that feeling, you're a little bit upset. And in fact, as soon as I take you back to that spot, your emotions pop up right away. How many of you have had that happen? Sure. Okay. Here's the result of holding on. 1, you tend to be a negative person. Here's something I'd like you to do. I'd like you to think about people you know and see how many people you know fit in this category. 1, they tend to be negative. Two, they tend to get stuck in the past on that issue. We had a good friend of a family who was older, and her kids took her car away because she passed out at the wheel. And from that point on, until she passed, anytime you talked with her, she'd talk about that car. And what did it do? Every one of her friends started to avoid her. She was stuck in the past, and she was negative. And it took a lot of redirecting to get her to talk about anything else. I can tell you how. Two, you tend to be more tired. Thinking about the past robs you of the present. It also robs you of energy. Tend to be full of resentment, and none of you are this, right? You don't know anybody that's sarcastic, do you? Okay, myself included. So these are holding on behaviors. The question is, so what do you do about it? What kinds of actions can you take? In my course, one of the things I talk about is healing from the past, and there are lots of actions you can do to heal. These are not easy, but the alternative is much worse in my mind. So let's take a look. The power is talking about, the power is in letting go of things. If you can let go, if you can move on, then it's gone. It doesn't say you're forgetting. Don't misinterpret me. I'm not suggesting that forgetting is the answer. And in fact, most times you might think you forgot, but it'll pop up some other way. I had a problem at one point in my career, and I thought I had pushed it down far enough that it wasn't an issue. And I was looking at another job at the time. And as soon as I started to look for the other job, this old issue came back to my head. And I thought I'd put that to bed. It doesn't always work as well as we think. So letting go as a source of power is truthful. When I did the research for my dissertation, first of all, I promised myself I would never do a bean counting dissertation where you did all these surveys and then reported what went on the survey. So I was lucky enough to design my research, and I interviewed people and I learned their life histories. And the people I interviewed were the people who had a disease called systemic lupus. And at that time, to get into my study, you had to have had the disease 5 years diagnosed, and it had to have been 5 years in the process of getting diagnosed. Okay? So I'm not talking about just any group of people off the street. When I talked to them about how they manage their lives, one of the things that kept coming back is they let go of the fact that they're ill, and they focused on their life now. It didn't mean they didn't respect their issues, but they moved on with it. And there was great power. So as you think about this, think about where the power exists. Now, when you're looking at tools, this is the most important tool as it relates to the idea of letting go. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is extremely, extremely powerful. And again, you say, I can't do this. The alternative is to keep having this thing happen over in your head, over and over and over. You might have done something to me before. That was the action you took. My holding on to it and repeating it in my head is what I'm doing to myself. So as you think about this, forgiveness is a tool. Now, how many of you read a book called Left Behind? Any of you? Okay. Well, Left Behind is a wonderful story about a woman who was in Rwanda. She was coming home from college, and as she was coming home, the genocide started. And she ends up seeking refuge in the home of a minister with 6 or 8 other women. And they ended up living in a 6-by-8 room for 90 days. And he would give them food, but think about it. When she got out, her whole life was changed. Her family was desecrated. She had lost an incredible amount of weight, and her whole world was different. But when she got out, she figured a way to learn forgiveness, to confront the issues and learn forgiveness. It's an incredible story.